Good day. Father Matt Williams here in my parked car. I hope you're well. Okay, so we're on day 11 in the preparation for total consecration according to St. Louis de Montfort. And we're still reflecting on the spirit of the world and how that spirit of the world is completely against the spirit of Jesus Christ and the sovereignty of Jesus Christ. And today, once again, we're reading from the Imitation of Christ. And in the readings today from the Imitation of Christ, the author, Thomas Kempis, is reflecting on the fervent amendment of our whole life, that we have to make a fervent amendment. And there's two things I want to pull out from this today. The first is this: when you're going through a hard time, so you say in the spiritual life, you don't feel like you should be praying, you don't feel like praying, you don't want to go to pray, you don't feel like doing the virtuous thing you're supposed to be doing, or you're just not motivated to do anything in the spiritual life of what you're supposed to be doing. So they ask that question in here, and they say, here's what the answer, here's how you handle that. And I think most especially in prayer, when you don't feel like praying, how do you get through it, or when you just feel God is so far away? And it says this, it asks the question, if everything was going great right now and you were on top of the world, what would you be doing? And you're like, wow, okay, well, I would be going to pray at these time, and I would act in this way, I would be doing these things. And it says, then do that. Then do that. So when you're in a funk, especially in the spiritual life, when you're in a funk, you have to reflect back, what would I normally be doing if everything was going great right now? And that's what you have to persevere to do. And that takes great perseverance, that takes faith, that takes effort, that takes, as I said earlier, a fervent amendment. In other words, that you've made this with a commitment with your heart to say, I'm going to overcome my selfish desires, my laziness, my pride, my desires to take me away from God and focus more on me. He says this, St. Thomas à Kempis, there is one thing that keeps many back from spiritual progress and from fervor in amendment, namely, the labor that is necessary for the struggle. So it takes hard work. It's really hard. You can't just expect to live the spiritual life. It will slip you by. You like water. I said this before. You will go to the least common denominator. You'll be mediocre. Like, you can't just live a mediocre Christian life. It doesn't happen. You will eventually become lukewarm, and you will be no threat to the devil. It's really true. So they're saying that the way to avoid going backwards in your spiritual life is that you have to be willing to labor. In other words, you need to make a commitment. I need to make a commitment to have a disciplined prayer life, to pray every day at disciplined times, to take time for prayer. Not just when I'm driving the car, I'm doing this, that. Pray, always do that. But I have to make appointments with God where it's just me and the Lord. And I'm praying heart to heart. And the consecration is one of the ways we can do this. We have to be disciplined. We have to be committed. Say, okay, Lord, it's really hard, but I need your help today. And then secondly, as I'm trying to live the Christian life, we have to pray very specifically for specific graces. You have to pray for specific graces. In other words, if you know that you're struggling with something, or you know that coming up today is going to be something that's going to be hard, you need to ask the Lord for the graces right now. Go to Mother Mary and say, Mother Mary, I need these graces today to overcome this sinful behavior. I need these graces today to love in an extraordinary way, to forgive, to be of service, to not react, but to be proactive. We have to be attentive in the spiritual life to asking for those graces. That's what the commitment, the labor that's necessary. It's that we're not only are we taking time to pray each day, but that we're also praying in anticipation of these difficult things, asking for the graces so that we can overcome them. So prayer is very key in the work to overcome ourselves so that we can live non-mediocre lives, but rather lives that reflect the fullness of our baptismal promises. So it's all about making a fervent amendment in the labor that is necessary, namely, getting on your knees every day for that quiet prayer with the Lord, intimate prayer with Him, to ask Him for the graces so that our hearts can remain on fire for Him, and that we can have the graces to overcome the things we need to overcome, to act in the extraordinary ways He calls us to act, to be able to love as He has first loved us. It's all about making a decision for Christ today. Lastly, St. Thomas Aquinas said this: if you want to become a saint, will it. If you wish to become a saint, will it. In other words, don't just talk about it, but make a decision for Christ. Will it. Do the things that are necessary to live for Him. God bless you. Have a wonderful day.